Well, a warm welcome here on a Sunday morning in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Look at the sun shining down on the harbor here on Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, everyone. As we get ready for more curling action, look at the flowers in full bloom. Here, spring is in session as the Ford World Men's Curling Championships come to town. Not a bad way to take a trip down to the arena, horse and carriage, or maybe a Sunday afternoon stroll here to the Save On Foods Memorial Center. It is draw number 3 coming up as the teams piling in. Just 2 games out on the ice, and our feature game, Norway. Thomas Ulsrud at 0-1, taking on Switzerland, and Sven Michel, who won their first game, sits at 1-0. This draw number 3. The flags are out. Obviously will be a lot of red and white, not just for Canada, but Switzerland. You see the Swiss flag and the usual maple leaf. Luke Coley joined with Armin Harder for this morning's draw. Thanks for joining us. And should be a good battle between these two teams, very familiar with one another, playing over in Europe.
Certainly are. Often meet each other on the Curling Champions Tour, the European Tour.
Well, Norway will need a bounce-back game after dropping their first one to the Czech Republic. It's a different lineup, and we'll get to meet the lineups here momentarily without the regular third. I think that's a big hole that'll be left by Torger Nergard not being here. Well, here are the teams. Norway lead Howard Vad Peterson, their second Christopher Sva. Third man, as we talked about, Torger Nergard at home awaiting the birth of their second child. Thomas Levold will step into the third position, and the skip, Thomas Ulsrud, still does not have that gold medal to his name. Lots of silver and bronze as we meet Switzerland, their lead, Simon Gempeler, their second, Sandro Trollet, their third, Claudio Patz, and their skip, Sven Michel, the Swiss representative here in 2013 in Victoria, winning their first game. As we look, they are one of the 1-0 teams, along with the US, Scotland, and Canada. Sweden with 2 wins on day 1. China is even at 1-1 to round out page 1 of the leaderboard. Czech Republic also 1-1. Teams looking for their first win: Finland, Norway, Japan, Denmark, and Russia sits at 0-2 after day 1 of play. As a quiet morning here, just the lone draw with just 2 games. Our feature games on sheet B: Norway, Switzerland. Well, Canada takes on Finland. Brad Jacobs with a win in his first World Championship game takes on Eku Koste, who lost their first game to Sweden. Moments away from settling in. And Armin, you got a good feel of both of these teams. You have this Swiss team, young. They're at their first World Championship as a team, and taking on Thomas Ulsrud. They've been here year in, year out. If they're not here, it's a surprise.
Well, certainly an experience factor. Big difference between both these teams. Sven Michel's team having played 2 European Championships in the last 2 years, about the only exposure on this kind of scale, and of course any of the slams they've played in Canada would come anything close to this. So that factor is an unknown. Obviously, you never know how these teams react, but it was really good to see Sven Michel had to draw to the cold draw to the forefoot to win his game last night, and had no problem doing that, so that certainly helped his confidence. And can't talk enough about the experience that this gentleman has.
But he's still looking for that elusive gold medal. He has been unable to get that one. It's something that they've been close a few times at the Olympic Winter Games, in the gold medal game. A gold would round out a well-decorated career for Thomas Ulsrud.
He did manage to get the first gold at the Europeans in 2010 in Chambéry, so At least there's one goal in there, so that might be a factor in.
Well, it is Howard Vad Peterson leading things off as Switzerland will have the hammer here in the first end.
I think the biggest factor in this team right now is the change with the Lovold playing and Norger staying at home. And see how that goes. Thomas Lovold, a very good player, but just not a regular player in this team.
It's the difference. They did go on a run without Thomas Olsrud, and Lovold is stepping in 2010.
Certainly did, yeah.
So centerline guards start things off. Norway, we'll see how if they put any extra pressure on themselves to try and pick up a win in this game after already dropping a game in their first match at this championship.
Sliding behind the tee line, not really where you want to be. Like to keep that rock in front of the tee line. This will allow Olsrud just to draw down on top of it. Teams each having a 9-minute practice before game begin. And the Swiss winning the hammer with a draw to the button, putting it closer than the Norwegian team.
All comes down top of the fourth. That's where Switzerland would have rather had their stone than sliding behind the tee. So we look at the rules of play. Minimum 6 ends before a team can concede, 73 minutes per team, and 1 coach interaction where a coach can come down and talk to them, but the key there is the clock will continue to run during that interaction.
Good shot there, partially behind the guard and out in front of that Norwegian counter.
Playing around that center, it's just all important about those angles in order to leave yourself something. You'll see a lot of freezes and taps before someone finally decides to make a move.
Yeah, controlling that front part of the house in front of the forefoot, that's the key.
Well, they just get by. They tuck just a little bit underneath and take away the angle on that Yellowstone. An important game for the middle of this Norwegian lineup. They struggled. 68%, and Christopher Sva, good start for him. Struggled in their game. Him and Thomas Lovold both at 68% against the Czech Republic in their loss. Olsrud playing high 80s. Anytime, obviously, a lot of difficult shots when in that position.
That was pretty close. If I pick up that yellow rock, they might drive it back onto the red. Didn't miss by much.
Hvor skal vi, Thomas? Skal vi inn? Ja, inn ja. Ideelle der, men hvis vi ikke prater litt sammen, vi kan leve med det nå. Så kom på nesa, Egen. Da får han litt dobbelt med den jammen her.
Just allow the Norwegians to up the pressure a little bit. I think that'll be an important factor for the Norwegians to come out early against the Swiss and try and put them under pressure.
You can see that's the game plan. They put up the centerline guard to start without the hammer. On that one, not where they wanted it. Ends up over curling on the guard. You heard the panic in the sweep call. I think it was to try and chip off it and roll so you can guard up the stone they have top 4 foot.
Does leave their shot rock exposed. A little hack weight could pick that right out. Actually, it would be nice for the Swiss if they could hit it on the nose and stay there. Rolling away will only allow the Norwegians to draw it back in there again. You got to work it hard to get past the guards, though. Now they're all over it.
Well, so that's 2 stones in that spot. Not sure if they're just not giving enough ice, or maybe it curls a little more than on that other side.
I expected to curl a little bit more today. Yesterday with first draw, the ice is starting to mature a little bit. Usually the first draws are always a little trickier, a little less curl. And I imagine today we could see a little more curl than yesterday even.
A lot of the players after practice on Friday were really happy. Like on the practice day, normally a little bit green. You're still working the ice in a little bit, but they said it's the best that they've seen at a World Championship for practice. And then yesterday it was a little bit slower, I think, with a few bodies in the building that changed it.
Yeah, with the people in here and playing, will also still bring out impurities that are in the ice that come to the surface and will affect it. And of course, the ice makers, when you come into a new building like this and you make the ice and it starts getting play, making it for practice is one thing, but having to adjust it for how the ice reacts in this building under play conditions.
Absolutely. And during practice, there's just one team on each sheet, so there's extra bodies out there, all kinds of different elements that you see. Claudio Potts, 25-year-old third for this Swiss team, trying to open the front up. Well, gets rid of the front, leaves that Yellowstone splitting center line. Still Norway lying 1 without the hammer here in this first end.
Still well protected, that one.
Hits it right on the nose. Tough to really make that double peel and roll it out unless they're playing it on the other side. Look like so. The nose hit and still has angle with that Yellowstone top 12 foot.
And that's what Olsrud wants to protect now. And set something in front of that yellow one.
Thomas Levold. Big shoes to fill here at this World Championship. Well, the guard goes out in front. Still shot stone.
He wants to drive the center guard back onto his own, maybe pick up something that way. He'll want to move these rocks around a bit, give a skip a chance for his last 2 rocks. Just pick up the one.
It may look like something that wasn't what they called, but they jam and stick it on the side. Now they're 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Whatever Thomas Olsrud plays now, it's a little more pressure because of those other counters in the rings.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. And he certainly doesn't want to set up a double.
Rulle inn der, prøve ikke legge opp noe. Litt råere på den siden foreløpig. Ja. Så mye jeg begynner med glatt der også. Det nesten vanlig. Ja, det er greit, det. Så jeg farta du vil. Ja, så det er vanlig ned. Så hvis vi ruller bare noen steiner, så spiller han den gule. Må få rulle inn da. Så det ikke bra ut. Ja. Han kan i hvert fall spille den da. Og tar du Guardian. Ja. Ja, det er sykt. Han ligger 2-4. Ja. Det er ikke bra det her. Hæ? Ja, det føles som vi må slå, altså. Det føles sånn. Bare rulle og gjemme innsida her sånn. Ja, tror det. Kvart. Vanlig. Da tror vi kan dra litt der ute. Det som det går rett en stund før det kommer.
Olsrud trying to an out-turn takeout here, hit and roll in behind. I'm trying to remove that yellow rock and then roll in behind cover. 2 rocks into play. Holsrud manages to remove that rock, but rolls to the outside. Didn't curl up for him that much.
And that's the risk with that, is playing that hit. The difference in the slash by Switzerland. They end up running it into the rings. They jam on it. They hit and roll out. Now, we hit here, chance to lie 3.
Hört zu, darfst nicht so schlagen jetzt vor Kraft. Ja, sicher nicht weniger Eis, gib noch ein bisschen. Ja, 12. 12. Er wird dann wahrscheinlich innen abreißen. Ja, aber dann kann man ihn lassen, für 2. Fries muss dann perfekt kommen. Ja. So. 12, ja? Ja.
So Sven Mikkel, the skip of this Swiss team, trying to make a play on shot stone. Been chasing after it all end long. Well, go over the top, removes it, and lies 3. That was the risk by Ulsrud playing that hit. Roll out, have a chance to lie 3. Now forced to play a freeze with his final stone facing multiple counters. Thomas Ulsrud in his 10th World Championship appearance. Sitting at 0-1 right now.
Really needs to weld this onto that yellow rock in order to bail himself out of trouble here. Sweeper's not laying a broom to it. Might over curl even.
Well, they come down, they were trying to let it dig in, and it looked like it had a little bit of weight, and then at last moment trying to keep it on line. It comes down, is shot stone. You come down, play a little.
Not a bad
tap.
shot though. It's covered enough so it's protected. I think the only option Mikkel has here is draw. Could try the hit and roll.
Is this a shot where you throw draw weight to get it there, and then if the line works, you sweep it a bit to try and maybe tap it?
Got to come really close past that guard, and that'll be a shot for 2 then.
So final stone here, the first and a draw to get 1 for Switzerland.
This is hanging wide.
Just got to look at Ulsrud's down the same path. Curls at the end. Past the guard. Now are they able to tap it to get their 2? Tap it far enough, and I think they got it. They will able to just get past the front, tap it back, start off with a deuce.
Really moved nicely at the end.
Well, a fantastic curling shot to start things off, and Switzerland leads 2-0 after 1. the big question on this one was trying to just get by the front. Actually had a little bit of room, and they're able to come down, tap it far enough. And Trollet able to be alert on it to sweep it past just far enough and get an early deuce against Norway. Welcome back here in Victoria. Luke Coley with Armin Harder in the 2013 Ford World Men's Curling Championship. Fantastic shot, a finesse tap by Switzerland. Gets an early 2 against Norway.
Norway looking to steal throughout that entire end. Thomas Olsrud having to make a nice freeze just to not give up more than 2.
Well, first stone goes in. We'll see the corner guard go out.
Standard opening. Simon Gempler has to put the guard onto the shot rock, sitting in top of the 4-foot.
Well, guard comes just touching the center line. With the corner guard in play, guard maybe leaving a little bit open.
Yeah, we'd like to
straight
have it
come around.
a little closer, a couple of feet closer to the house. Norwegians going around the corner guard.
I'll try and just make sure that one gets on the paint. Looks like it.
I think it looks like it.
Just biting the outside of the 12-foot there. They were running out of rings to try and draw down to.
There's a little bit of frost on the outside, so we'll have to see how that continues throughout the game, how that affects it. It is nice and warm out there.
And it throws a little bit of a wrench for a lot of these teams and the ice makers also, that you play the first 2 draws with 4 full sheets, and then this draw had only 2. So now the outside sheets aren't being used, and the airflow is a little bit different. And the run back made. Well, I'll leave that one outside the rings now, but the corner guard still in play. Sandro Trollet able to make that run back. Christopher Sva trying to draw around.
Linja er nå. Linja bra. Wow, skal kom. Wow, skal kom.
Ja, bare kjør det. Kjør så langt du klarte. Kom,
Ja, kjør da. Nå går den. Ja.
Kom igjen.
Kom igjen. Kom igjen på helheten. Kom igjen.
Ignoring the center guard, going around the corner, trying to get rocks into play.
Well, that one in a better position than that last one that was just touching the top part of the rings.
Michel going at it direct, trying to get around the guard, tap it out, maybe roll behind the center. Looks pretty close.
Well, actually catches the back edge of their own yellow.
Would have liked to have had a little more of that. Didn't want to go that far back behind the tee line. But this will certainly force Olsrud to finally take a run at that center guard.
One of the few players with the lift delivery still, Christopher Sva. Big backswing, trying to play the run back. Well, it spills off the center line, rolls off to the side, opens things up, leaves just that one stone that sits back beyond the tee line.
Yeah, leaves him a nice corner guard too.
In the corner guard, finns det på. Ja, fristannar då. Nummer här. Nummer 8 på ett. Ja. Arbeid er nå frise, det kan vi nå normal. Okej. Ned.
Det är så tränare det händer inte det händer corner guard.
Ja, men vi kan inte ut på fristen, det går da. Ja. Alltså, William. Fru. Ja.
Team was trying to convince him to go around the corner guard. Michel says that's not a good idea, guys. He just freeze down on top of it. I like this call better too.
Linje 6. Nu skott. Linje går. Stryk igen. Stryk. Stryk. Linje skott upp nå. Bra, Jungs.
Well, they do get the tight guard. Leaves a bit of that rock open.
It does force the play into the middle, whereas Ingvaldsen, Norwegian coach.
Not a world championship unless you see him walking around. And
we see Paul Trulsen, Olympic champion, just sitting next to him.
And those two have been to a few world championships and international events together.
Absolutely. Pretty well took Trulsen to quit for Olsrud to get the nod to be the team.
Just a little bit short there. A couple options. You can go down to it or just go top 4. That one, top 8 foot. Like you said, Armin, right around the center, forcing play around the center, not to the corner. Another guard coming?
Looking at the guard, they are shot. Here we see Robbie Hurleyman. Robert played years with Christoph Schwaller. Stopped curling a couple of years ago and took over this team. Hurleyman, his first coaching experience when he took over this team starting last year. So
it's definitely probably a different feeling coming from playing all the time.
Is, yeah. Been doing a great job with these lads.
I want to close up, make sure there's no port.
Well, they're certainly set up so that you can get rid of them and maybe come into the house.
Klart du kan ta senteren og rulle inn, kanskje.
Might even be able to get through them.
Prøve å spille den, og så eventuelt det er plan B.
Men gå for trykke ned bare.
Hæ?
Bare bakkantfart.
Ja, bakkant, men spille bakspill en toller. Bakkant.
He won't be able to push his shot, his rock shot though. Gets through that fort.
Do you hit the higher one first to play into the rings, or try and play the lower one and catch the backside?
The higher, take the backside, yeah. Come off the backside and roll in. You might be able to come down on top of your own that way. Certainly has to be concerned about those two rocks out in front. Like he's playing a draw though. Down weight anyways. Thomas Lovold.
While trying to get through that hole. On it, almost right out of his hand. Get through. Do they have enough to tap it up and get shot stone? They get through, but not quite enough weight, and the sweepers were on that right out of his hand. I think they knew they needed to go for weight. Problem with where they tapped it is the angle the shooter rolled to.
It's a dangerous call too, because if he does rub on the guards, he's got all sorts of mess out front.
Ja, wir haben zwei im Haus. Zwei im Haus, ja. Ist gut. Einfach nicht hier. Wieso nicht? Mal kann man irgendwie über die zwei oder wegen. Dann lieber da. Ja, hier aussen ist es wahrscheinlich härter. Ja, ja. Ja.
Ich sehe jetzt hier.
So. Brauchen wir so etwas?
Well, quickly look over on sheet C. The only other game is, you see, Aku Kosti, the Finnish skip, got a very fortunate break on his last and rubbed off a guard and rolled right in front, not leaving anything for Brad Jacobs. So the second end, he's going to throw this a one away, take his one. As you see them close on the button, but it is one for Canada, looking to move to 2-0.
Swiss will be trying to draw around this center guard, the one on the right. Very concerned about being the only rock in the house. Would like to have a second one in there. It is shot and it's well protected, but certainly don't want to give up three in this end. Quite a bit longer than they wanted.
Well, they just don't want to leave anything out there that
You might want to take that back a bit.
is there on its own as it goes back 8 foot, third shot.
Og så rulle hit. Jeg gir oss noe.
Åpner den da. Men så kan du spille en rød der for å åpne veien inn da.
Ja, da garder den bare, så.
Ja, ikke hvis du stikker den da.
Jeg liker den med vann.
Så har du en del å treffe på. Da kan gå via gul.
Jeg liker den corneren med 15 eller vann.
Kan bli ganske bra. Kan treffe der.
Den med vann, som enten går ned dit, eller går den.
Bare vann. 15.
Ja.
15.
Se, det er hår høyt. Det er nesten kjapp. Det er ikke langt unna kjapp.
Du kan treffe ganske mye.
Well, we'll see if they have their angles lined up here. It looks like they're going to try and move 3 or 4 stones around, running that red, and try and catch that one top of the 12 foot to just get by the other guard.
I think he's also looking at wanting to open up that hole so that he might have a, with his last shot, might be able to draw through there. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone here.
First of skip stones. Thomas Olsrud. Well, red get past the yellow and will split their top ones, roll it off to the side, and sit second and third. Couldn't have got by that yellow guard by much more. A quiet little raise. Just gives him some options, I think, is all he was trying to set up there.
Was concerned about Olsrud being able to come off his own and roll in or double out their rocks. They'll try this themselves. Comes perfect. They'll roll to the middle. Really put some pressure on the Norwegians.
Was there some risk here also where he rolls a shooter to, setting up a double back?
Well, you want to make sure that you roll far enough, or stay where he is on the nose hit here too. That they looked at that option also. If you nose hit, that double's not is a lot tougher. They do have that third counter in there, so that's saving there.
See, try and make the hit. Now the roll. Do they roll in far enough?
I should have got on it earlier.
And they touch the side of the button. But a quiet way double possibility for Olsrud to get two right back.
Just waited too long. If they get on this a little earlier, they'll get a little bit better roll.
They're worried about rolling too far. That one way will finish hard at the end, and a lot of anticipation on the ice always to make sure you get the sweepers on as it rolls to the side of the button.
Tough double. Really need to nail it perfect.
Important here for Norway. Make sure you score, even if you don't make the double and push it far enough. Make sure you get your one. But with the broom here, it looks like the indication trying to go after the double takeout and get two right back.
Really have to come close past that center guard.
So last stone, Thomas Olsrud trying to tie things up with a deuce of his own in this second end. Well, needs to finish at the end here. Tap it far enough, get it out, and a lovely shot right back in the second end by Olsrud. It was Mikkel in the first with a great shot to score two. Now it's Olsrud's turn, and we're all square after two. 2-2, Norway, Switzerland.
koste dere så mye da.
Well, welcome back. Live coverage of the Ford World Men's Curling Championship. You see the Norwegian coaching staff and alternate up on the bench.
Marcus Højbæk and Paul Trulsen in the middle, Olympic champion.
2002. It was Switzerland that was the Olympic champion in 98. 2002 was that man Paul Trulsen for Norway. And 2006, Brad Gushu of Canada. And then Kevin Martin just across a ferry ride away in Vancouver in 2010. Building towards the 2014 edition in Sochi, Russia. As both these teams trying to ensure that their country will have a spot at the Olympics. Always big national funding, and getting to those Olympic Winter Games. Switzerland will need a good run for this young squad right now, sitting 9th in the qualification standings after a disappointing Worlds last year.
Yeah, well, Switzerland will be needing to probably a 5th place finish at least to qualify direct. It's 7 teams out of this Worlds and the last Worlds that qualify direct, with Russia being the 8th team as host nation. And then there'll be, if you don't qualify direct, there will be a last chance for 2 countries to try and qualify.
Well, they try and sneak by there. Looks like they just graze it enough, but doesn't deflect it enough. It chips off of that stone in the 8-foot. We're trying to keep it, and will just catch it marginally and able to still keep the line with that quiet weight and touch that yellow stone over just a little bit. So teams will be watching those Olympic points, and based on your standings last year, finishing 9th was Switzerland. In 2-year qualification, they sit 9th right now. But the 5th ranked team is New Zealand, and they didn't qualify for the Worlds.
Norway at 4th with 9 points. So it's for the Swiss team, obviously, being the first Worlds, there's that pressure, but there's also the added pressure of qualifying their country and themselves for those Olympic Games in Sochi.
Well, Sven celebrated a birthday yesterday.
He did, yes.
25 years old, and got a win with an impressive victory. He curled 91% himself in his first World Championship game.
He had a cold throw to the 4-foot with his last rock to secure that win. And it was quite impressive to watch a young player like that execute those.
It's what you see a skip is really made of when he can make that draw to win a game at a World Championship. They made a great shot here in the first end to get a deuce against Thomas Ulsrud. 2-2 is where we sit in this third end of play.
Almost made a great shot in the second end, too. And sweep it just a hair earlier. Ulsrud has nothing with his last rock.
Ja, schade, schon was so. Ja.
Ja, slett da. Press.
Well, all about setting up angles. Just a little bounce off of that top one. Still leaves angle for that red Norway stone.
Det ikke bra vinkler i det hele tatt. Jeg vet ikke hva vi skal gjøre. Jeg liker den frysen der, ja. Greit, får vi prøve det da.
Well, Christopher Sva well, these important early stones are all about setting up angles and access to that shot stone. It was a great shot. Gempler able to put his first his come around just top 8 foot. It's not too deep in the ring, so they still have a scoring area to get that extra point later on.
This last red one there from Christopher Sway out is going to be difficult too. It's really in there. Claudio Pats coming down to confer with the skip.
Da wäre gut. Das Problem ist, er spielt das nicht an hier. Stimmt, er rollt den Fries. Dann würde ich den versuchen. Den klein auftappen. So. Hat er halt einfach den.
Gerade tappen.
Ah nein, der liegt ja nachher im Weg.
Gerade tappen ist nichts.
Ich finde den gut. Den kann er nachher nicht spielen.
Welchen?
Gell, liegt ja nachher da.
Wie lang der?
12.
12?
Dass der ein bisschen da überschiebt.
Ja. Okay.
Und aber den Shooter behalten, wenn es geht.
Ja, müssen wir. Hey, wird es kürzer kommen, 12,5.
Ja.
12,5, Trillo!
Problem is that top red one is welded right in there and they can't remove that. So what they're going to try and do is angle the yellow onto the back red one. Try and keep their shooter. You see Andy Schwaller in the picture and Benoit Schwartz. Spare, who regularly plays with Peter de Cruz, former World Junior Champions.
Some quality young curlers coming out of Switzerland, passing the torch from the Hurlemans and Schwallers and Stockleys. As they change the angles just a little bit, just moving them around. Yeah. Now as the dust settles, both teams assess how they sit.
Switzerland having a hammer here. It's a young team here, but playing with a lot of experience, maintaining those shooters, keeping rocks in play, also important.
Have been to world championships, but at the junior level, so they're no. They have the experience of an international event, just not at the men's level. Make the double, get all three, and very nice. Thomas Levold makes that, and angles didn't line up very well for the Swiss.
No.
As they
needed to roll a little more with that one, with their shooter.
Well, the double makes that middle yellow just spin right out of there with ease. Good looking. Shooter sticks around as well. I wasn't sure how much action it would get pinballing off those top 2 yellows. So Norway lying 3.
With the center guard.
Nose hit, trying to roll in, even make the double on that one, just into the 8 foot. Olsrud now, a little bit of momentum swing after the triple by Levold. Can draw right in behind, go top 4 foot.
And obviously, both these teams playing on both tours, on the World Curling Tour in Canada and the Champions Tour in Europe, exposing them to this type of curling on a regular basis.
A lot of opportunities for teams to play, if willing to travel, and play against the best in the world all over. The tour has definitely grown along with the game and with the Olympics having curling, and that's definitely given the game a boost. Vold trying to get this one behind, won't have enough.
Short.
The question is, do they count that yellow counter in the top part of the rings?
He wanted that in the 4-foot. This will allow Michael to bail out a little bit. Swiss laying third shot. Claudio Pats could get his team out of a bit of trouble here by hitting and rolling in behind those guards.
Big scrub, they got to get past that top stone, make the little hit, and roll big out the other side. We'll sit side of the 4-foot. Sweepers couldn't hold that one. They're able to get it past that top stone. As a close look, had a little bit of room, gets by, but the big roll and will be visible for Norway to make a play on it.
Det drar seg fint på slutt. Det er fullt mulig å rulle, tror jeg. Nesten finere å rulle litt utover. Ja, se på. Løvholdet ser rettere ut og ruller ut, altså. Utover. Ja, da kommer han til å dra hit. Det er greit, det. Jeg ser bare litt luft på innsida. Jeg kan spille med hack, da, for å treffe kjapt. Ja, det er ok, det er alternativet her, da. Ja. Men...
I'll try and roll it underneath, try and roll away was one idea. It depends if they figure they could get on the center line side of that rock, and with this ice looks like trying to roll to the outside.
Yeah, he doesn't want to allow the Swiss to get hidden in behind his rocks top the house. Sweeper's not laying a broom to it yet. Leaves it right there.
Well, with the nose hit and them not sweeping that, I'm assuming they were trying to maybe get a little bit low side on that, try and roll to the center line.
It certainly opens up an opportunity for the Swiss to get out of trouble here.
Yeah, if Ulsrud makes that roll, he's in a lot of trouble. Instead, the nose hit, now he has the opportunity to make this roll, make this chance at 2.
They're not laying a broom to it either.
Well, trying to get the roll inside. They'll maybe get a little, but
put it back where it was.
So both sides unable to make that roll.
dobbelen tilbake igjen. Han har ikke dobbelt i sin skjapper, han ser jo ikke innsiden, jeg har ikke sett mer mye innsiden. Hvis du skjapper så går det greit. Ja. Ja. Du så rullen holde seg ut, så er det guffen dragning. Ta mindre is da. Ja, bitte kanskje.
Well, Thomas Levold holding the broom for, as the vice skip now for Thomas Ulsrud. Chance to try and make that hit and roll. They looked at nose if that would allow him to get inside. There is still the 4-foot to get to. Here, Ulsrud's final stone.
Sweeping it now.
First objective, get rid of that yellow stone. Try and make the roll.
A little closer this time.
Well, just get a little inside.
All right.
Doesn't knows he's going to force him to play the the draw for one. As we jump over and look at Finland, Canada. Finland is throwing the yellow, and looks like there's a yellow raise. Chance for four?
Yeah, maybe.
And it is Finland with the hammer here. So last rock over on sheet C, just the other game going on. Finland, been a couple years since they've been at a world championship.
Looks like he got it going a bit, rolled it out of his hand.
Well, I'll see if the sweepers can hold it. They'll get by, tap it up, and they will get 4 out of it. A lot of people surprised here, seeing Finland and an inexperienced team against an inexperienced Canadian squad. That's a big 4 spot in the third end of that game.
Sweepers had to work that one because he was a little inside on it.
Back to ours here. Final stone needs full 8 foot to get a single point, make it a 3-2 game.
Nice. Good control draw weight.
Good shot there, good force by Norway, and so we're at a 3-2 score. So we're through 3 ends. Quality curling match so far, some great curling shots, and more to come here as we're just through 3. Well, some young fans here on a Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, as we are at the Ford World Men's Curling Championship. Luke Coley with Armin Harder. And if the rest of this game is as good as the first 3, we're in for an outstanding curling match because both teams some outstanding shot making throughout the first few ends. And it was a force by Norway. They get the hammer down 3-2.
Certainly been a treat so far here on a Sunday morning. And this is only the second draw.
It is. It will be
a second draw for both these teams anyways.
Yeah, and coming in, Norway, you lose your first one against Czech Republic. Probably maybe thinking a little bit, okay, we need to get that win. Just get that first win. Don't want to start off. A couple years ago, they started off struggling a bit. Didn't get their first win till 3-4 in. Becomes an uphill battle if you lose a couple early.
Switzerland very aware of the Olympic rankings, so they'll be fighting for every point, every placing. Simon Gempler throwing 83% up till now. Both these teams partook in the event last weekend.
And the formerly known as the Bear Mountain Classic, now the Victoria Curling Classic. It was Nicholas Edin and Team Sweden in a real good field, past world champions. 8 of the teams that are here. 84% for the Norway lead.
Veldig god plass. Linja er bra, vi er bare harde. Får du litt touch? Vente og så. Så dypt dere tør. Ja, vente mye lenger, vi har ikke noe bra bue.
Swiss team qualifying for that in that event. I think the Norwegians went out.
Well, trying to use that corner guard. They go deep in the rings. They want to just make sure they got it buried early on. These lead stones, very crucial. That stone going top 8 foot, the centerline guard.
Actually, Norway and Switzerland played in that event, played against each other last week. Switzerland winning that. You're going to tell me exactly what they've done there?
I'm going to pull that up right away. Well, trying to get around that corner guard.
Rolling behind. That's nicely done. Christopher Sway struggling a little bit. Well, that was from yesterday mostly.
That was, yeah, the numbers you're seeing, the tournament accuracy, so the result of their first game just into game number 2 for them.
Certainly that shot will certainly help his percentage there. Nice raised takeout. Picks up the one. Trolley. Trying to come around that corner guard again and replace that one in the forefoot. So these teams did face each other last weekend in that event.
It was a qualifying game that the Swiss team was able to come out on top. Of course, all those World Curling Tour events, they're just playing 8 ends, so a 5-2 score is what it went down as. And that meant the Swiss team got into the playoffs, made some money. Well, the Norwegians were left out.
Got some points on their Swiss curling ranking system, which is similar to the CTRS, I suppose, Canada. We also have a ranking system in Switzerland that qualifies these teams for Olympics.
You need an encyclopedia for all the different ranking systems each country has and qualifications for Olympics.
Well, our Swiss ranking system, we were watching the Norwegians here trying to raise takeout on, just gets enough of it. And center guard still hanging around up top. Swiss curling ranking system also based on the order of merit, the international ranking as a base, and then added into that is the Swiss championships and things like that.
It adds extra incentive to teams that are playing on the money circuit, playing those games in order to not only develop their skills and grow that, but make some money and earn points towards qualifying for events and within each country for certain championships.
We saw Claudia Patz there with 89% for the tournament. It's very good numbers for 3rd position. And we see here nicely executed. Shot again. Yeah, it's the Swiss curling ranking system. That's very important for the teams for qualifying for Olympics. It's not just based on a one-off at a national championships. It gives you an indicator of consistency throughout an entire season or over more than one season.
And not just getting on a roll in one event sort of thing that you talk about. Important growth along with everything in the game. This game has definitely grown in the past number of years. Run back will be missed, but they try and roll it off so that they open up those 2 stones in the house. belonging to Switzerland.
Lovold's numbers there that were just shown, 68%. Also, I think, from yesterday.
Yeah, those were the two positions that needed to pick up their play, and came up with the triple last end, which was big. And
certainly playing well in this game. We'll see those stats later on in the second half of the game.
Yeah, Levold right now at 83%, while Sva at 92, so definitely an improvement.
Certainly needed. They'll have to work this to get it to curl enough. The longer they drag it, the more it'll curl. It does leave it open a little bit.
And that's it's not the side that they wanted to err on if they were going to miss, because now there's a good portion of it they can hit and roll to the corner side, corner guard side.
Yeah, you didn't mind over curling there.
Okay, der.
Well, looking for a big roll now, but not too far.
Why they were sweeping that.
Well, they could have got off it a little bit more. Maybe they might have been trying to go for the thin, trying to make the double on it.
It's possible.
Sort of a plan B down the sheet of ice.
Didn't quite work out for them. This will allow Swiss probably try another in-turn draw around that center guard, but it will force them to take a different line if they go around that. I don't know about going around it from the out-turn side.
You're getting a little bit wider.
They are going to do it from the in-turn side, but this is a different line. They did play one down here. Sven played one down here a couple of ends ago that came to the back of the house. And we see a big Swiss flag there.
We heard the bells out yesterday in full force. There's some fans with the large bells.
A couple of youngsters, young guys here from Adelboden, the hometown of this team. And of course, they're up in the mountains, and the cows are 91% here for Michel. Cows in the summer have the big bells around their necks. Anybody watching any skiing from Europe will hear those a lot. Nicely played.
Very nice into the 4-foot. Great judge of weight, because that's a spot you're going that extra little bit out on the wide side of the sheet of ice.
Bare prøve å dø her, dytte den bak 4 og så stoppe foran. Enten eller rulle bak der. Ja. Samme fart som vi spilte steg med en hackers-variant, så i hvert fall dytter den ut av 8 fot. Du får litt dupere. Her altså, hvis du har litt...
Låsen litt...
Jo, setter ikke de veldig.
Setter den på feil side av senter. Hvis du setter den på senter, kommer den til å stikke over frem.
Well, same type shot. That one came out the other side a little bit.
This one will be a little more difficult than his last one, though. It's not quite as exposed.
Even a short roll in front of that backstone would suffice for Ulsrud. But Switzerland giving him everything he can handle and then some in this game. As we cut over after the 4 by Finland, you see more yellow finish stones in the house. Brad Jacobs and his team, after a win against China yesterday, will have a hit, or pardon me, he's drawing for a single point. Has to get to the 4-foot with that. Ulsrud Rex on the front. Ryan Fry out to help drag this, as they'll get it right to the 4-foot and more. So Canada gets one back. 4-2 though, if you're Finland. Gotta love the way this game started, up 4-2 after 4 ends with hammer.
Nicht so einfach jetzt legen. Ja, die Lücke ist riesig. Das kommt da nicht so
Canadians
extrem.
have some strong sweepers there.
Weissen vier. Hey.
Well, in all of their bios, they all say they like to work out.
Certainly needed it there.
Da ist er auch gut. Die bringt auch nichts, oder? Der Dolly hat er oder?
Ich würde anlegen. Da hat er nicht viel Platz zum Legen.
Nee, da muss er schon aufpassen.
Well, and just briefly looking at the numbers, which probably would have been a solid guess, seeing is the 50% for Brad Jacobs over for Team Canada, part of the reason them down 4-2 after 4 ends of play.
Der tut es hier schon noch ein bisschen zu. Sobald er einen ganz sieht, ist gut. Also, selbst wenn er ihn genau ganz sieht, ist er nicht so einfach.
Das finde ich voll auch nicht schlecht.
Ich weiß schon, ich auch nicht.
Genau Nasentappen.
Kommt er auf das Gleiche, hat er auch das Dolly, oder? Ja. Gut, hier muss er das Dolly nicht haben. Aber
Ich finde das gut.
hier.
Ich finde auch noch der Centerline leicht weit.
Ja.
Switzerland with an opportunity here to guard up their shot again. Laying 2.
Yep.
Certainly the force is on. If they can really guard this up nicely.
So do you think you're in a position for a force? Do you try and think about, okay, how do I make a steal, or how do I make his shot the most difficult at this stage?
I think that rock isn't in a perfect position to steal. As the full forward foot is still there. If you steal, it's a bonus. You certainly shouldn't be disappointed if you force your opponent to take one. I think that's actually a one end. You've won that end. So wanting too much sometimes leaves you with disappointment. I mean, they have an opportunity to steal, but you got to expect that Olsrud's going to make that draw to the button. This is looking a little longer, though. I'm tapping it.
Important to try and keep the line if they are tapping it. Well, just moves it a little bit. Lies 3.
I don't think Olsrud's going to play the double. He's still going to draw, I would think. Yeah.
Well, you saw the indication. Tap the button.
We know that the rocks, they curl quite a bit at the end, so he's still going to come. There's still a guard out there that might irritate just enough. Can't just focus on the broom and throw the right weight.
Well, he's thrown this one numerous times. He's played 84% in their loss yesterday. Need to put this one full 4-foot, piece of the button to get a single point and tie this match up after 4.
Sweeper's working it.
Well, Thomas Levold hasn't stepped out yet to help, so have to be pretty close.
That might come up short. It is.
And it is just a bit short. I was
path, yeah.
kind of surprised that Levold didn't step out to help. No real panic until too late, and it's a steal of 1. And a 4-2 Switzerland lead over Norway as they look for their first win of the World Championship. Well, getting in the Canadian colors can also be Swiss colors. I see a few Maple Leafs.
I don't see Swiss wearing those. Where do we get those? We can put them on.
As we welcome you back inside the Save-On Foods Memorial Center on the Ford World Men's Curling Championship. It was a steal of 1. A draw came up short. A little lackadaisical call on that one. Thought Thomas Levold might jump out there to help with the sweep, or he wasn't really saying much coming down. It was Thomas that yelled right near the end that you got to go. And hit that slide path a little bit slower than another spot on the ice. And
well, this is the thing about having a new third in that position, being a little tentative about making your own calls. You don't want to make mistakes in the position you're in. You don't normally play in that team, so you tend to hold back maybe a little too much sometimes. You don't want to make a mistake.
Where you're a little bit tighter than when you normally would, but even because he has been their alternate before, has played with them, but it's always a different dynamic when a new body steps in, and especially in that vice position, because you're now between the front end and your skip and talking back and forth.
You have to take charge sometimes, and if you're a little tentative about that, those type of errors do happen.
But still, just a single point stolen, 4-2.
Been a great game so far. Swiss rock placement is very.
You're getting worried there.
Almost overswept it. Swiss rock placement has been very impressive so far here. Really like the way they're positioning their rocks, forcing the Norwegians to make great shots too.
And it's been this type of game plan when Norway's had the hammer. They put that. They've seen the first stone in, the center line guard with their corner up. They're going around it, trying to get one in behind, see if they can play behind the corner.
Which I absolutely agree with. I mean, what's the point of putting up a corner guard if you're not going to use it? I like this call personally. It's a lot of times you'll see the teams going after the center right away and just ignoring that corner guard, and it never comes into play again.
Well, that one is deep, and
it's the positioning that's important, though.
Absolutely. And right now, the scoreboard sort of shows the advantage that Switzerland's had. They've been better in the front end in placing their stones early on in the ends, and that's allowed the back end to benefit from that.
Kempler, with his first rock in this game, went behind the tee line. And I think that was about his only mistake so far. So really picked that up.
Well, that one, trying to go with that one in the rings, but take the guard off. Works as well when you roll right behind the center line guard to lie 1-2.
Still lots of game left, though. Still early. Things can change, and we've seen it change so many times in curling.
And the rocks, there's still rocks in play. Switzerland hasn't got into a full-on defensive mode to peel stones out, keep it open in the front, putting that center line guard. And anytime you're playing the finesse and draw weight shots, going to have a chance.
This is moving. Let's get clipped the guard.
Well, touches it, rolls in. Oh, a little mistake there for Christopher Sva.
It is in an awkward position for the Swiss. They'd like to remove it. Can be dangerous.
They get just a little to the inside of nose. Do they clip the back one at the same time?
Yeah, well, I think they're more worried about moving the center guard that they have, which is protecting their rocks, or hitting it just on the outside, which would pick up the back. So you really have to hit this one perfect. I'm not too worried about the one in the back of the house at this moment. They're playing the intern at it, and it's got heat.
Well, catch the back one. and it will stay in play, but outcounted its 4th shot in the rings.
But they did move their center guard off the line. And I think that was probably the worst part of that rock. That's what they didn't want to do. Because it now exposes the 2-shot rocks that the Swiss have in the 4-foot. Got a curl or they can jam.
Well, jam on that one, leave it top 4-foot. Second shot is where the shooter goes. Well, room to make a hit on this one for Potts. Well, little roll in to the 4-foot. I don't know if you can see enough of the center line to make the double and hold your shooter. Well, with that look, there is enough room, I think, to make the double.
To hit it right in the middle.
Right at the same time, with a fair amount of weight, if you are a little off, and might just kick that one just a little bit back.
Might be able to come up into that yellow if you hit the one on the right first.
Well, Thomas Lavold try and get by.
Ooh,
and that's the problem. You miss-hit it just a little bit.
Don't know if he touched that guard or not.
Rolls just a little bit off to the side. And again, another hit. Switzerland controlling play. It's been Norway chasing. Well, trying to roll back in behind the guard. Very nice.
Awesome. Things seem to be working for the Swiss at the moment. Every shot they're making, getting great placement on those rocks.
I just seem very comfortable with everything right now. Just making those hit and rolls, and they're forcing Norway into some difficult shots.
That's a perfect roll.
Halvtreff. Halvtreff. Han treffer på en kler, så omtrent en klering, ikke det? Ja. Halv, eller? Cirka halv. Litt mindre enn halv til og med. Sånn som deres steiner gikk relativt normalt ut der. Ja.
Well, they're hitting off the side one off the top, trying to see if they can make the double. Well, get one, get the second, roll it up, sit buried. And does jam on that side one. Problem there is it's just a short little run back. 2-3 foot run back to get rid of that and lie 3. And
Swiss have been making this with some sort of routine, so it shouldn't be that difficult for them.
Cut over a sheet C in Canada, Finland. Last rock here, you see those 3 Canadian stones. Aku Koste got a 4 early, leads 4-2, and now needs the 4 foot, going to the wide side with the out turn. And needs this one, curl in, facing a possible 3-point steal. Nothing from the sweepers. This one needs to stop and curl. It's not going to curl, it's not going to stop, and Canada will steal 3 to take the lead back. So just when you think Finland's off to a great start, you get a force, the wheels come off, and Finland gives up the steal of 3 and the lead, heading to that 5th end break. Meanwhile, our game, it was the Sven Mikkel makes that short run back, keeps the shooter out front just a little bit off, and there are some stones to try and roll behind. For this Norway team to try and set up a skip's deuce.
Where you got Canada on the ropes like that, you want to keep them there.
Well, it was early when they were playing a peel, and they end up clipping a red stone in and had a freeze on his first. Came up well deep, went deep into the back part of the rings. Seems that Finland team favors the hit as opposed to the draw in a lot of their opportunities.
They had Sweden on the ropes last night, or in yesterday's game also, and let them off the hook.
On that one, on the wrong side of the rock that they wanted. Norway can't seem to get the offense mounted as that one rolls away.
Swiss having the luxury here, actually just need to remove this rock, and that'll force the Norwegians into one again. Just need to make this disappear.
Well, the hit, and this will keep the force intact. Little roll into the 4 foot, and line 3. Question, hit or the draw? And with Broom here, looks like the hit will be the call for Thomas Ulsrud to make it a 4-3 game heading to the break. So last stone, a hit to pick up a single, make it 4-3. And a little roll in. That will be done, and it is a 4-3 game. Norway gets 1, but the steal the difference through 5 ends of play. Switzerland, Norway, here at the Ford World Men's Curling Championship. We'll look back the first half of the game in the first end. The freeze was there, and Sven Mikkel is facing that shot stone of Norway's, and he has to play this in-turn tight to the top. Get by. Now the line's there. They can sweep it, tap it far enough, and there it is to get the 2 points to start this game off with the hammer. Well, right back. The hit and roll on Mikkel's last didn't quite roll far enough. Left an opportunity for Thomas Olsrud. The veteran skip will be bang on here as he has the double to score his 2. Right back, 2-2. Through 2 after that. Fourth end, and Switzerland controlling without the hammer. Forces the outturn draw, facing multiple yellow stones in the rings, and Thomas Olsrud, his front end, Pedersen and Sva. You hear the Olsrud in the background trying to get them to drag it far enough. They won't. It just touches the forefoot, and that means a steal of 1, and that 1 point is the difference. Won by Norway in the 5th, so 4-3 as we are in the 5th end break. And just 2 games in play. Canada, as we showed you, that steal of 3 has them on top of Finland 5-4 as they play the 6th end.
Altså, vi får jo leger, nok av leger, det bare at vi surrer bort. Og så er Håvard litt dype på når vi skal spille rundt corner, så er det litt avhengig av at den sitter da. Hei, Dordi.
Well, through 5 ends of play, it is 4-3 Switzerland leading Norway. You look at the numbers, and advantage tells you the story of this game. 89 to 81 overall percentage. The draws, slight advantage to Switzerland, and the hits, 94 to 78% for Switzerland. That 1 stolen point, the difference, as it is 4-3, with Switzerland having the hammer, as we'll be into the 6th end of our feature game. We are in draw 3. Norway already with 1 loss. They lost to the Czech Republic. Don't want to drop another. Norway will try and battle back in these final 5 ends of our feature matchup.
Klokka, gutter. Vi har dårlig tid.
Jeg tror ingen steiner som klarer
det masse kullet bare i dag. Og treigere. Vi blir jo kortere hele tiden. Ikke sant? Det treigere, da. Det jo klassisk, dette her, da. Ja.
Well, look here at the Save On Foods Memorial Center. We are in Victoria, British Columbia on Vancouver Island. A beautiful sunny day outside, and we're in here watching an outstanding curling game in Switzerland.
I didn't bring my sun cream or my shorts with me from Switzerland because I didn't expect it to be this warm.
Good numbers for Howard Vad Petersen, the lead for Team Norway. I'm sure they probably have some fancy shorts too that are about as bright as these pants to enjoy outside in between games. Make it a lot more enjoyable if they could pick up a first W.
I'm sure Christopher would organize those very quickly.
So tight center line guard. And now rock placement again, important. We've seen good positioning so far. You see 93.
Not a lot of difference between those two leads. Excellent numbers.
These lead stones really dictate how an end is played. If you're deep, if you're behind, your next player is going to have to make something to make up for it.
Nice positioning there in front of the tee line, very important.
It doesn't get buried, but it's in a position that they can have it in behind. See what Norway decides to do. It looks like a second center line guard try to see if they can put a little pressure on Switzerland and try and go for a steal.
Looking a little longer. Don't want to get them too close together. And it comes down nicely there.
Well, again, just trying to put it right on top of their other stone. Oh, very nice. Top part of the house. Makes it tough because now Norway will have to move those stones around in order to get something in the 4 foot.
Yeah, and the difficulty of these shots just goes up higher with the rock placement being so well.
Well, this was a number to look for before the game. 85%, much better, but they're still trailing on the scoreboard. They'll need a big second half of this game.
There's a degree of difficulty here. If the Swiss keep putting these rocks the way they are, will go up. That was nicely played.
Very nice. Keeps it around with that quiet weight. Doesn't overthrow it and keeps those stones around and in play. Well, if you're Switzerland, you're lying too. They're behind cover. Your mind initially tells you to go out and peel, but you're liking the way it's sitting.
Yeah. Anything you do here can only mess up the situation. If you don't hit it right, quite right. They could remove the long guard. I think that would be without any danger. I think removing the long guard would be the right thing to do here.
Yeah, just play the single peel of the long one and keep things closer to the house.
That's the one that's going to get you into trouble, not long guard, but second position, 83%. So very close for both these positions. It's looking a little longer than he wanted.
Oh, we'll chip off it and lots of weight there.
Fryse gul.
Ja, bare hit, prøv å komme til nesa. Skudd på fart.
Well, with that one sliding by, they just chipped the Swiss stone over. Try and move things around. Try and just push that one back. Or can they get right around it?
Bends nicely at the end.
Sit on the corner of it, actually right to the nose. And will bite the forefoot. But it's third shot right now. Still going to take a couple of rocks to get shot stone.
I don't know if you want to get too messy here. If you were the Swiss, you're up one. You have the hammer.
Gleich wie er gespielt hat.
Bringt das was? Ja. Aber er muss genau, also
Ja.
er darf nicht rausfreisen.
Hey. Einer vorne freisen wäre auch nicht schlecht.
Wir können den abschießen, aber das bringt auch nichts, oder?
Deppert nachher eben Köpfe, aber dann können wir auf den schiessen. Das ist schon nicht schlecht.
Was?
Wenn wir den wegnehmen, deppert wahrscheinlich etwas, aber dann können wir nachher schiessen.
Also den würde ich nicht mitnehmen, den können wir noch brauchen, oder? Wir können den auftun. Ich weiß nicht, was er macht. Okay. Da.
So Swiss finally come down to the conclusion to remove this long center guard. Yeah, I think this is probably the safe call. Don't get enough of it. Ooh, just almost takes the back one with it.
Well, it gets rid of that front and opens things up. That actually opens up a couple options for Norway, but it's still 1-2 right now for Switzerland.
Remember, Switzerland does have the hammer and wants to make sure that they do have a path to the forefoot in case they get into trouble.
Well, basically putting the guard back, waiting a little bit. I think playing that chess game, waiting to see who will make their move first. If Switzerland goes back and peels it again.
Wenn wir vorne auftun, spielt er den da, hä?
Ja. Ich fände den Preis nicht schlecht.
Ah, da?
Ja.
Vorne zu ist nichts, hä?
Und der an vorder Preis ist auch nichts.
Ja, schräg. Bringt eigentlich nichts, weil er kann ja den gleich anspielen.
Ich würde preisen auf den.
Okay.
Claudia Putz, Switzerland's third, talks Sven into this shot. He wants to freeze to the top of the red one that's sitting in the 8-foot. 93% for third. Great numbers.
Well, sits on the face of that, changes the angle, keeps that yellow in front. They all sort of analyze the situation, see what the options they have out of this are.
So obviously the red one's not going anywhere.
No, it's going to go onto the back ones, I think. Might actually spin and roll on the corner of the other yellow.
Make it even more difficult to remove.
Just how far will that top yellow one spill out as we see 80% Levold, like Sva, an improvement upon their first game. But when your counterpart's at 93, you have to step it up again in these last few ends. Will they play it quiet or
get a nice angle on that yellow one too?
My second shot just started with 2 centerline guards in this end, and we're in a position normally you see that going for a steal.
Now you've got that angle off the guard. Might be able to remove those top 2 red ones that way. I just think the Swiss got themselves into a bit of trouble here, not by removing that center guard with the earlier rock and then again leaving it this time.
Is that a case where they were sitting too good too early that you're thinking, I don't need to get rid of it? If I peel it, it might help them?
Yeah, but they're actually playing into the hands of the opponent by doing that. Now they've just got a complicated situation. One wrong move here could be pretty messy.
Ich würde die beiden aufmachen.
Muss der da weg da?
Ja, dann hast du die Seite offen für das Lecken. Fände ich schon gut.
Ja, ich kann ja nicht mehr legen, wenn er da hier gerade fortnimmt. Irgendwann.
Kann er nicht. Nur so, aber dann muss er einen austreffen.
Also probieren wir, aber tun ihn nicht, spielen ihn nicht zu weit aus. Ja. 3/4 ist gut.
Well, those Reds are in the good position. That's what's got the Swiss in a bit of a predicament now, how they get out of it. Quickly look over. Canada-Finland, the steal of 3 by Canada in that last end. Now has them on top. And the last rock here, Aku Kosti. The finish skip. I haven't been able to really get anything going in this 6th end either. And has to draw the 4-foot here to get a single point and tie this game up. And nicely done right to the tee line. Good bounce back end for them, even though they don't get their deuce. But he makes a nice draw, scores his 1. They're all square after 6 ends.
So opportunity for Olsrud here. Could actually be laying 4 if he hits this right.
In order to do that, where do you have to hit it? Do you have to hit it on the center line side of that in order to?
Yeah, needs to hit it on the on the other side.
On the outside.
Yeah, just to get enough of that. I don't know if you can get enough weight on it. That's the yellow one is certainly gone. It'll touch the red one, but it should be able to touch it enough to move it enough. Move that yellow one out of the 4-foot area.
Because you should get some drag effect. Those first 2, the fairly close, should act as 1. Sort of the angle you hit the top one will go onto the red, as you see Thomas Levold trying to size it up himself.
Might even push the other red one behind the guard. The top one.
Well, they've come into this end with a game plan to try and steal, try and put the pressure on Switzerland by putting the 2 centerline guards up. That's not a number he'd like to see. That's 65. The 1 big shot, the miss. Gives up the steal in the 4th end. Got to hit it on the outside, get the drag. And we'll get lucky on the back as well and spill that. It looks like just out of the rings. So lying 3 is Norway here in this 6th end. So catches it on the outside. The yellows spill out. The shooter does not stick around. And knew the shooter wasn't going to stick around where they hit it on the outside.
Actually got more of that red one than he really wanted to. He would have liked to have kept that red one in the 4-foot area. It did open it up a little bit now for the Swiss to be able to get out of this end. But certainly looking like a force as opposed to making multiple points.
Early on, it was looking 2 as a real possibility for Switzerland.
I think if they remove that guard earlier, in the end, they might just walk away with a blank in this end.
Well, 88%. He's been on the better side of this one so far with the 4-3 advantage. Facing 3. Make the nose hit. It is shot stone. Just nose back for Ulsrud now.
Yeah, straight nose. Just force the Swiss to take one. The deuce here could have blown this game open a little bit. Just taking one will certainly keep it close.
Bitte mindre level. Ja, spiller han 15.
Well, they want the nose hit. That one's going to roll away. Still does the job by hanging around on the side of the rings.
Just makes that draw a little bit easier for Michel. He's full 8 foot. Conferring with the front end. See what the draw weight is.
From the far end, those 2 stones just off the center line. 8 foot is what's needed here. Last stone. 6th end. Sweepers jumped it early. But a straight draw to the 8 foot. And they've backed right off now. As this one needs to stop in the 8 foot. Thomas Levold will get on that one. Will it slide? It's got to stop in a hurry. Will it stop? And it won't. It's going to be a steal of 2. Seemingly came out of nowhere. He had been solid, rock solid up to that point. But Sven Mikkel comes up with a miscue. And now Norway takes the lead. Their first lead of the game. Up 5-4 after 6.
And we're back here with the Ford World Men's Curling Championships. here in the 7th end, and a surprising deuce for the Norwegian team. In the 6th, a routine shot, 38-foot for the Swiss skip. Just slides the hair too long, giving the Norwegians 2 points. Sweepers jumped it a little early, didn't give it a chance, and it was that much too long. Important now is that the Swiss don't allow this to irritate them. They've been playing a great game so far, and they'll want to maintain that. This is where experience and the team will just shrug that off and not let them get too taken by that.
Yeah, it's an important end to bounce back after that.
They've been playing really well, and you give up 2 that easy. And, a routine shot that could throw you off.
So. This will also test him. We talked about yesterday having a draw to win the game. Now he's got to bounce back after a shot he'll tell you he should have made.
Sweepers did jump it a little early. That didn't really give it much of a chance. Sometimes when they stay outside of the sliding path, the rocks will run a little longer. If they come into the sliding path, they'll stop a little quicker. So it's really tricky for the sweepers to judge that sometimes. And the sliding path does break down during the game. And 2 nice shots there from the Swiss lead.
Well, continues to put rocks in good position as he has throughout this game. Of course, this Norway team missing their regular third, who's at home awaiting the birth of their 2nd child. Figured it'd be hard to miss the birth of one of your children to be at a world championship, and
I'm sure he's fevering along with his team here. I wish him all the best, family.
Yes, absolutely. As they make the hit and roll over to the side. Right in front, Christopher Sva has been a solid game. Struggled in the first against Czech Republic game they lost.
Both teams have been pretty solid all game so far. Just 1 or 2 misses have been the difference. Switzerland having a bit of the upper hand for most of the game. Working it hard, need to get past that corner guard, get on the inside of that rock.
Well, great sweep just to get by the guard and remove that one, but the shooter rolls out and play around the corner here with that Swiss stone.
I didn't think that was possible to get past the guard and roll out on the outside. Somehow managed to do that. There's some positive to this setup so far for the Swiss, is the play is on the corners, and that's probably the first time we've seen play to the outside. The Swiss will want to keep it there.
Well, get to it. Played a little hit. Now a fairly open end. As long as the hits and sticks stay around, I'd
Might be tempted to ignore that maybe. Just go around the corner guard.
With the straight draw?
Get it with a straight draw. Get another rock into play. That rock in the back of the house isn't bothering you too much. I don't know if they have anything here. This is over curling.
Not sure.
Right past everything.
That's not just a close miss. That wasn't even anywhere near that rock. That one over curled by a complete rock.
Okay.
Not sure if he got it going on his release. Didn't react like it was a pick or anything.
You won't be happy with that one.
Well, up until that last end, had been controlling the game, and now things have swung to the Norwegian side. As they go, top 4 foot, lie 1-2. Well, a few more smiles than we might have saw early in the game. Well, in the 4th and 5th ends.
Difference a steal or two could make. It's a nice roll here. Certainly help his team out.
Well, very nice in front. That does bring a jam into a possibility. Forces a roll back by Norway. And may even leave an open freeze on one of these that Norway will have to blast out. While trying to go the other way now, as they just avoid it.
But rolling this way does allow the Swiss could, with a freeze here, draw down in front of those two. Still try and generate some points. Would like to make 2 here. Plays to the side of the sheet. Claudio Pats. Solid so far. This is a little long though.
Trying to freeze to that one. A long way to curl, lots of weight.
So some mistakes slipping into the play of the Swiss.
Well, Armin Lang 2 at this stage for Norway. Where do you go with this? Do you try and block off that freeze path? Do you split the rings, force them?
I think you got to split the wings. I think going for the force here is probably the right thing to do. You're certainly not going to steal in this position.
Well, and we are playing the 7th end. You see a lot of teams try and set themselves up for the last few ends, trying to score in even ends and have the hammer into the 10th. A force here means tied playing 8, and even if you score 1 and 8 in a, I think the numbers would probably prove that's a pretty good position to be in.
I wonder if it's getting quicker out there here because this is looking long also. Perfect.
Well, deep enough that there's not a double.
Yeah. There's no sweeping on it though. I wonder if it's just picked up a little bit. Speed of the ice. We have seen some draw mistakes here all of a sudden.
And from a game in the first 5 played very precise, and I'm not sure what would really change from the players.
Fifth end break, you know, the ice not being touched for a few minutes there. It'll cool down a little bit. Might just
change it that little bit that makes the difference.
To throw you off a bit.
That would make sense with them jumping that last rock of San Miguel in the sixth end.
Yep. Just, we're the machine cycle too. That ice temperature does change throughout the game. It gets colder, it gets warmer, it gets colder, it gets warmer. I just needed to curl a hair more. Angle's not quite perfect. And this should be easily removed by the Norwegian skip. Just a nose hit.
Well, they took the strategy last end to go out, put the 2 center line guards. It's a bit of a risk putting them out there, allowing Switzerland to get 2 in there early.
That got them started out perfect for the Swiss.
It did, and maybe a decision not to peel the guards because you're sitting really good in the house cost them. Obviously, you should have scored 1. And now, momentum definitely favoring the Norwegian side with some misses by Switzerland.
Norwegians having done enough to stay in the game. Swiss were really playing well.
That's one thing this Norway team does is they don't get blown out of a lot of games. You're not going to see them shaking hands after 6 very often when they're not playing well. They'll make enough to stick around.
This will be a big. He's playing a draw. So this will be a big draw for the Swiss skip. He just asked a little bit shorter, guys.
Well, this needs a good 8-foot piece of the 4-foot in order to get the single point. Tie this match right back up. The final stone, Sven Mikkel. And the sweepers here got to be thinking, let's not jump this too much early after the last one. Got to trust their judgment.
Jumping a rock early will keep it straighter right at the beginning, and it doesn't allow you to get into that sliding path, which will change the. We'll see here how it breaks down very quickly once it gets in there. If it doesn't get in there, it's long all of a sudden. Great single point here after the shot in the last end. This will be back to normal for them.
5-5, so now we can relax. It's now Norway having the hammer, heading to 8. Well, everyone looking up.
Let's see here.
Try and find themselves on the big screen here in
Claudio Patz's father and sister looking on.
The Save On Foods Memorial Center. Luke Coley joined with Armin Harder. So we play the 8th end, and how this game has swung by 1 shot in the 6th end. A draw to the 8-foot, slid deep. Sven Mikkel. But he has got it back, tied things up with a draw for 1 in that last end. When drawing in here with this first one. So it's interesting strategy. Put that one in. Ulsrud's going to try and score this end, I think.
Yeah, he's going to certainly try and make 2.
Even 1 isn't a bad thing. Right now you look at scoring in the even ends. He has 2 hammers to Switzerland's 1. A lot of teams where that's where maybe Switzerland puts it in, sees, okay, maybe he'll hit and give up the extra end of that he has with the hammer. Ulsrud, an experienced skip, calls for the corner guard. This one needs to stop.
Sliding a bit.
It seemed to hit the brakes as it crossed over the car. And stopped tight to the rings.
Good brakes on those Ford Fusions.
Well, we'll look at the numbers. Low numbers for both on the hits. They haven't played as many, so
played 1 each or something like that.
Not the advantage. Gempler, he has been rock solid throughout this one. Just his positioning of stones has been very impressive for the 26-year-old lead. Oh, another guard.
Yeah,
and where it is, it makes that draw path around the corner because it goes tighter for Howard Vad Peterson. Can't really make a play behind the corner guard and has to go to the center.
Going long.
So change, try and go around it. And in between, just we'll roll off the side, sit second shot. And an update over on sheet C, Canada-Finland, also a 5-5 tie over there. Brad Jacobs, the Canadian skip, draw to the forefoot to get a second point.
Line's good. I personally think it's heavy, but same path.
So you see on the front end there, they need to put this in the forefoot in order to get a second point. And they're keeping it clean here as it comes down. It continues to go. We heard Jacobs earlier say he thought it was a little bit heavy in his opinion. It slides deep. They take a look. It's a 1 for sure for Canada. They're
Still think it's 2.
It is. After a measure, it was just a single. So only 1 for Canada. And a little over sweeping, a little hot out of his hand too. Didn't do a whole pile to it. Still, just 1. And Canada, not all that sharp. Canada will take on Scotland tonight. So they'll need to be much sharper in their next game, while Finland takes on Denmark in the evening draw today.
Switzerland not getting to the back of that red rock and setting up a double here for the Norwegians, but Christopher Svei not taking advantage of that. Rex on the guard.
And more mistakes now.
Pushes actually that Swiss rock into the house too. I think they'll want some separation or something on that. Guard that up.
Well, Christopher needed to pick up his game. He does have the advantage at the second position.
Trollet played a very solid first half of the game. It's just the numbers in the last 2 ends that have really dropped.
He had that open miss.
Yep. And
the guard here will
just curled a little too much. That double's still there. Wanted to cover that. Yeah, maybe that hole's not that big. I can't tell from here. I would think he could get at it direct.
He's looking at maybe just trying to clear the front as well.
All he has to do is touch it, and they're both gone. But apparently,
could try and get rid of the guard at the same point.
clutched on that rock.
Well, trying to run this one back, just have to touch it, won't. So the straight peel of that guard.
Swiss chance to guard that a little bit better.
Well, need to put this in again, the same type of position. Well, a higher guard this time. That will block off the double from that outturn side.
And the run back's certainly a lot more difficult.
Will be the same run back. Thing is here, he just has to touch it. There's really a tough, the way the angles are set up, we look at the numbers between the thirds and advantage to Lavold. Just has to touch it. Can't really jam onto theirs because of the stagger of those two rocks. Try and run it back, just touch them, won't, and leaves that shooter. So one of those in-betweens where you don't make it and you leave the stone on the center line. Needed to come up a little bit. The higher guard, a little bit off, and just misses that double one more time.
Yeah, that double is fairly easy, too. You just have to touch that top one, and they're both gone, and they're not touching the back red one.
So ideally, Claudio Paz puts this guard back in the same position.
A little bit longer, they're saying.
Well, there is that same type of shot if they're going to play it. They're running later into the end.
Det kan jo gå ganske gærent. Det blir bra. Det der minusis. Jeg spiller intern på den, Thomas. Intern. Ja, men køller ingenting. Ja, greit. Det er bedre å ha på utsida. Ja, men du gjør den.
So going after that center line redstone. If it's a little wide, you can make the double peel. Could run it into make the double. And the wrong way, missing that.
Outside. He hit it on the inside, yeah.
Even if you're wide and miss it and make the double peel, it's better than where it ended up, because now that those two Yellowstones still protected, still shot stone for Switzerland. Ulsrud's now going to have to make a double, and if they can throw a guard and sort of quarter tuck it behind and stagger the guards to take away the run back. So Armin just overlap the guard a hair is ideally here.
We'll certainly cover them. If you get a little overlap, it would be very Very good, yeah. Just off the center line. Coming in nicely. Did they get enough?
I think you could.
They don't mind leaving that other one exposed in the middle because it'll just run back onto the red one. Get some good stagger on it, though. There may be just enough room, eh?
They have to just sneak by, I think. Could play either one, the one they just threw or the higher one. But they're both a little more difficult now.
I don't think the angle's quite right on that red one. They have to come across the top of it.
And there's more risk with it. Could pick out their own.
Olsrud with a tough shot here. Right now he's doesn't have much for this with his last one.
Well, they've had a lot of cracks at this one. It's about time to need to make it.
A lot of discussion on this.
Well, look at the skip comparison advantage. Mikkel.
Olsrud's numbers are coming up, though. Michel's are going down.
Well, see, Olsrud would like to pick them up with a run back now. Well, run it back, and will kill their own. Real tough to.
Leaves guards.
We've been talking that was really hard to do.
Yeah.
Manages to go yellow, yellow, red.
How did he?
Just that little bit of
just skins it, yeah.
Angle, and not pleased.
Probably didn't think that was possible either. Just gets a little more of that yellow, and they're gone. This end just hasn't quite worked for the Norwegians. And look at this situation here for the Swiss.
Line 3, 2 in the forefoot.
And no place to draw to. Olsrud looking at some sort of angle raised takeout to try and get shot. 3 Swiss counters in the house. Oh, this is looking warm.
Well, this Mikkel's last stone. Wants to take away that run back. Well, it is close.
Wanted it to come up a little shorter. Olsrud's got the straight run back is there. Just on the nose. Michel's rock just curled about a half rock too much.
So there's a look what he has. That red right into the crotch of those 2 yellows. 5-5 game. And this, a pivotal shot. And a big game for Norway, already coming in with 1 loss. Looking to avoid an 0-2 start. Well, got to keep it on that side of the center line.
It's looking pretty good.
Well, right into the crotch. There's the single. Half a rock, a curl too much by Mikkel. The experienced skip, Thomas Ulsrud, with the straight back double to score his one. And made it look easy. Not a very simple shot, especially in the 8th end. And gets it perfectly. Gets his one and a 6-5 lead with 2 ends to play. Well, here inside the Save on Foods Memorial Center, you see the chief ice technician, Hans Wittrick, and his main man beside him, Dave Merklinger, have been working on the ice all week long, or probably been a week for them about since they get in and work on it. And we're only in day 2 of the event. They're either the favorite friend of all the curlers or enemy number 1 to some of them, as they have a tough task always trying to make a great ice surface. And
I really see those guys out there. It's a pretty sure sign that the ice conditions are going to be pretty good.
Well, now 9th end, centerline guard starts things off because Norway trying to force. As we look over on sheet C, the only other game, just 2 games in play. And last stone here for Finland, Aku Koste, down 1. He needs to get to the button here to get a single point. Has been facing numerous stones ever since scoring that 4 in the 3rd end. Gave up a steal of 3, which gave Canada the lead. In a battle there. We have to show the touch now. This one doesn't look like it's going to stop or curl in time. See if it's going to be 1 or 2. It'll be very close. I think it slid a little too far, and I think steal of 2. 1 for sure. They'll take a look and decide over there. But another steal for Canada. And we'll check and see what they determine over on sheet C.
Is it 1 Easter egg or 2 Easter eggs?
Canada's hoping it's an extra special Easter egg, getting an extra point there. Lost a measure early, see if they can win one on, as they'll bring out the stick on sheet C. Our game, Switzerland lying 2 behind that centerline guard. The freeze by Pedersen just bounced off a little, went deep, and the hit leaves 1-2. for Switzerland. Well, trying to get it without touching that top one will push them both, roll off to the side.
Does open it up for Swiss for a hit and roll.
Just that little difference rolls off. And now a chance to lie 3. Sandro Trollet.
Hitting it on the nose.
Well, touches that back one, gets away with it. Well, in an update, that measure, it was a steal of 2, so a couple of draws went awry for Finland so far in this one. 5 points stolen in that game. If he cuts that down by a couple, it's a 1-point game. But instead, he's down 3 playing the 9th end, and Canada looking to improve to 2-0 before a game against Scotland and David Murdoch this evening. Norway trying to make the double, unable to, will sit for shot stone.
Switzerland will be playing USA tonight. USA pretty well took Denmark apart last night.
Yeah, USA a relative unknown even from some of the going into the U.S. Nationals. Not many knew of Brady Clark or his team out of Seattle, Washington. He's had a lot of fans in town because the closest in proximity to Victoria is that USA team.
Tommy Sterna from Denmark. Losing to the USA team yesterday. USA also in that fight for those Olympic points.
U.S. right now sits just outside in that 8th spot.
1 point ahead of Switzerland, so that'll be a big game tonight for both those teams.
Now trying to get the roll in front, get a roll behind the center.
Just didn't quite roll enough.
A couple of their Swiss counters, at some point they may have to try and make a double so they don't give up the big end.
Still a center guard up there.
So trading hits, Switzerland line 3 with that one behind the button. Do they
far, but it's in behind the button, yeah.
Does Norway freeze now?
Well, he's looking at giving up 3, maybe. It's a good time to put a little pressure on to the Swiss. Has a center guard out there and the one behind the button. Working it hard, got to get past the guard.
Well, they're by. Now they need to make sure they get it in for shot stone or at least cut it down. They'll be second shot.
It did rub the guard.
Well, they're trying to get by. Will just touch it, and the sweepers got off a little bit, let it curl a hair, and trying to let it curl so that it didn't Stay out in the open and allow the
kept
inside
the
a
angle
little.
better actually on that rock, because if it hadn't rubbed, it would have over curled. And a timeout called by the Swiss.
So this will be the one coach interaction that they get. Coach will come down from their bench a few rows up here
They're a
in the
long way
arena.
down.
And the clock will keep running during this interaction.
So slecht.
Hij macht einfach den nachher. Dann hast du wahrscheinlich einen Doppel. Dann legt man mit denen frei.
Wird nicht den machen. Und auch daher. Da sind wir auch geforst, das wird schon blöd. Ja, ja, okay. Der ist 11 jetzt noch.
Nein, das bringt ja nichts. Der kommt ja...
Ja, es wäre gut, wenn es den berühren würde. Es wäre schon gut, dass die Zähne hier ein bisschen ankommen.
Das finde ich nicht schlecht. Das Zähne mit hier ein bisschen ankommen. Aber der muss außen sein.
Ja, ja. Aber der geht immer raus. Ich will fast nicht voll
There's Robert Hurleman. Taking a long walk down to the other end of the sheet.
Long walk to get down to the ice, and then on the far end, on the away end of the ice as well.
Ich bin für das Zähne.
There you go. 11 findest du nicht gut.
Ich bin dafür, das Zähne zu spielen, so. Und den ein bisschen wegzudrücken. Und die andere Seite, wir haben noch überlegt,
macht es auch nichts.
bringt nichts.
Es macht nichts, wenn es ihn nimmt.
Aber dann spielt er ein Selfie, so, und dann sind wir geforst. Das ist schon blöd.
Es wäre schon gut, wenn es sich ein bisschen bewegt. So.
Selbst wenn wir den behalten können, wenn wir den so behalten, dass der nicht bewegt, wenn der Fries kann ich eventuell lösen, haben wir gegen noch 3 drin.
Lange Tal.
Halb ist gerade gut, aber mit halb weiss ich nicht, ob wir den Shooter behalten können. Ein Selfie ist zu langsam, Mensch. Dass wir den Shooter noch behalten können.
Der Shooter läuft hier drauf mit halb.
Okay. Spielen wir den, ist gut. Okay. 10,5, Claudio.
So they've decided to remove it. I think that's a good call.
Wie viel siehst
Get that, because you can't leave it there.
Play it.
Could just touch it.
Quiet, or play some weight and try and roll and use your other stone as a catcher?
They'd like to keep the shooter around and use the other stone as a catcher. I think if you can remove this cleanly, even if you touch your back one and move it off that spot would be nice too. Actually, if you touch your own a bit, as you know.
We'll get rid of it. Rolls through, still leaves that freeze.
It would have been nice to touch that yellow one in the back and move it away from that forefoot, that button area. Just allow Olds are coming in with the out turn now.
Jeg vet ikke om det er i hvert fall ikke det her du har dratt litt garder over. Det er i hvert fall ikke treigere, og det køler jo opp. Det eneste vi trenger er jo hjemme innsida. Og alt fra 4 fot. Ja, det er langt fra slått. Altså, så lenge vi hjemmer bare får klinikken for det. 3 blank. Ja. Er du happy med det? Ja.
We're playing the out-turn freeze. Thomas Ulsrud, a 6-5 lead in this game. Trying to avoid going to 0-2 with a loss in this game.
Venstre lengst mulig. Linja kommer seg. Venstre lengst mulig. Og venstre.
Trying to let this one curl. It's not coming up to finish. But they play the out-turn enough that it, even though it doesn't have to get to the inside on it and play a tap.
Looks like it was fighting the handle.
Wenn wir aufstehen, sind wir geforst, oder? Ah, wenn wir aufstehen, sind wir geforst.
Dat lijkt geen doppel naar, hè? Schwieriger.
Es liegt ein, aber ein schwieriger. Wenn wir nicht bringen, sind wir 2 hinten.
Voor de hoeftoer wordt het net slecht.
So sind wir je nachdem auch geforst. Wenn du den so spielst,
Ja.
dann hast du keinen Second mehr legen.
Maar daar moet nog knauw spelen, als naar de Men at det åpner
Det kan
trusa
få
som at
straff under båten nachher. Also, dass es so bleibt.
Okay,
det er off, det er god.
Tempi.
Worried about the time here too, Swiss. I can't see the time clock from here, but he did mention that we have to move on. They're opening up. They're going to remove that center guard.
There's a look.
Yeah, down to 6.5. Yeah. They got another end to play.
And they have used their one.
And they have used their one timeout.
So first to skip stones, Sven Mikkel. Go down, peel the center line. Now decision for Thomas Ulsrud. You come down, try and get just to this, basically where the broom was. Just a little on the center line side, inside a nose.
Time.
They will use their timeout, so now Ole Ingvildsen will make the trek down.
I bet he's a little slower than Robert.
Eller gå og gi bort 4. Ja, men så lenge den ligger noe sånt nå, så han ser bare litt av den, så får han ikke...
Husk på det, altså, at hvis du... Selv om du kommer dit, så kan han kline til med skjapp.
Men hvor går denne?
The danger with trying to steal here is to set up a double for 4. You could hit and roll away and lay 2. Would also probably set up a double. But it would be tougher.
Men samtidig køler du ikke helt opp, da.
Slår rulle hit.
Her, da. Kan du gi bort 4. Ikke sant?
Slår rulle hit.
Ja, mykt da, så eventuelt prøve å doble på de bak.
They would certainly like to force Switzerland to take one here.
I think if you're playing for the force, try and hit and roll away.
Hit and roll away, but you don't want to roll too far. You want to roll far enough to make the double tough, and you don't want to
and
roll
not
too
leave a
far.
double.
You don't want to roll too far that you're leaving an open hit for 3.
Jeg tror det beste slaget å spille på den dobbelen og rulle hit.
You can go really aggressive and try and freeze to that yellow one. That also leaves a double.
Jammen bak og rulle langt, da, så gi bort 3.
Rulle langt er dumt, da. Da får jeg heller rulle kort.
Hæ? Jo, men det øyeblikket du jammer dobbelen, Ola ruller langt hit. Ja, så gir bort 3. Ja, men selv om du bare...
Hvis du ruller bare en stein, så er det ganske bra.
Da får du bare 2.
Man skjærer for 2.
Ja. Jeg slår bort den der og legger 2 i hvert fall, så må han forhold til det. Nei, men dere vil tenke på, hvis du fryser der da, så kan han skjappe, så får han 3 da. Flyr den ut der, og så går den der. Ja, vi må prøve mykt.
Rulle hit.
Jeg skipper på en slags dobbel med vant, og så blir det rullen ut automatisk.
Ja. Skipp på tjukk hall. 2/3 tjukk hall med vant. Ikke sant? 2/3 var med vant.
Well, I think decision made. We'll find out right away what they decide, if they try and hit and roll or play the freeze. And that looks like the hit ice. By skip Thomas Lavold in the house. Have to be careful. Try and make the hit and roll.
Hit and roll, you might get the double at the back.
Important here to make the roll, not leave a double. Well, get the hit, clip the back one, little roll away.
It's a very thin double.
Very thin, and as we'll quickly jump over, you see those 3 Canadian stones against Finland. Last of the 9th end, and Aku Kauste. The outturn draw.
Forced to draw again.
Has given up 5 stolen points in that game. Trying to cut the lead down to 2 if you can make this draw. Well, Sweeper's just lightly guiding this one. Get to the forefoot. Make it an 8-6 game, and he'll do that. So Finland within 2. Will have to steal 2 in the 10th end.
Sven Mikkel here.
Will make the double, and the shooter will roll out of the rings. Can't hold it with the spin, but took the chance, gets his 2. And a great double with the last stone for Mikkel.
Just hits it a hair too thick. Put some action on that rock, and it just spins out of play, or it would have been 3, but a great double here for 2. That'll put him up 1 point at 7-6.
Well, he's happy he makes the double, but I think wanted that extra point.
Looking for more.
Well, welcome back inside here, the Ford World Men's Curling Championship. Luke Coley with Armin Harder and a 1-point game. And it will come down here to this 10th end. As we saw the double made, but rolls out. And Sven Mikkel, you could see with the reaction as we went to break that it was great relief that he made the double, but disappointment that his shooter was unable to stick around.
I think if you had told him you're going to make 2 in this end, 3 rocks before, he would have taken it easy.
So, Norway has the hammer, is looking to score 2 to win the game.
There's a nice shot.
Oh, right in behind.
Harbert.
In top part of the rings, you don't want that first stone around a center to be too deep. No. You go too deep and you close up that scoring zone too early.
Need to work this to get this in. Good sweeping. Very nice rock. Leeds has certainly put on a show here. Both teams very good.
Yeah, Gempler in the mid-90s. Well, Pedersen just below 90, so both will be happy with their play, and one will be happier than the other with a W coming out of this game. Of course, Switzerland coming in 1-0. They open side.
Red one ended up being
just
second shot. Switzerland really going for the steal here. Drawing around the center guard. This looks a little warm.
Well, they try and come right around everything, trying to get in there for a shot stone. Well, trying to play the tap, roll away, and Norway line 3.
The rocks are lined up nicely up front. If the Swiss do get one in behind, it'd be looking pretty good. Just sliding too long here.
Well, just haven't executed a couple shots in this end so far. Goes deep, it's third shot, back part of the house.
That was quite clear.
You peel the center now.
Norway sitting 2.
Now looking to get rid of that stone out in front, bring all the play in, lying 1-2 already.
Swiss need to be careful with the time. They're also under a lot of pressure there. These draws eating up valuable seconds.
Well, the little hit and roll will sit back 4 foot, and is shot stone.
So the play's in the center too, so good opportunity for a steal or at least a force of 1.
So Thomas Levold trying to draw down to it. Well, that one won't work. It goes right by and to the 12-foot. So a mistake there. As we see the handshakes over on sheet C, a Canadian victory. 8-6, they run Finland, Aku Kauste, out of stones. So Canada 2-0. They'll take on the Scots tonight in draw 5.
So Finland having the 2 top favorites already against them, and they've played well against both of them.
Had leads early in both games. Need to get this one by the front. It's by. Now right to the button. And will lie 1-2. Claudio Potts comes up with a big shot. They already were lying 1 after the miss by Levold. Sweepers get this one by the front, top part of the house.
The angle on those 2 rocks in front, certainly not in a good position for the Norwegians.
Well, good come around after the peel really changed the way this end looked.
Bare myk vant, da, så vi sitter her. 2/3.
Norway would like to get both of these here and the shooter to roll away. Just clear everything out. Try and get out of trouble.
Well, looking for the hit, and trying to keep the shooter, so they have just the straight run back. Takes away the stagger of those stones. Probably see a guard go up for Sven Mikkel. He's already heading down because
he's looking at time. Yeah. Down to 1 minute, 20 seconds. 2 more rocks to go.
Not really a problem for Norway. They still had about 3 minutes, so.
It just rushes you that little bit.
Still got to take that extra second in the hack to. Yeah.
This is coming right up to it again, so they might just replace that angle again.
Well, it doesn't curl off. It just chips off the side. And
it's not really what he wanted. Just that much too long.
Well, do you play the red, yellow, or the yellow back?
Jeg tror jeg er mest presis med 11. Det gir meg selv 0 is der. Hår høyt. Hår høyt.
Looking at raising his own onto the back. Like to keep it there. Lay one. Force Michel to maybe make a raise takeout. Fortunate for the Swiss as they have second, third, and shots there. They're all lined up, though.
We'll see how many he gets moving here with this one. Quick check for Mikkel of the time for his final stone. 75% on the hits so far in the game for Thomas Olsrud. Needs a perfect one here. Down 1 in this 10th end. Oh, red, get all the yellows moving, and look at that. Spills them all out other than one. It is Norway, lying shot. Shooter rolls off to the side. He gets them all moving. The lineup worked out. This goes red, yellow, 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 and 3 of them disappear. Well, a little spinorama. He liked that one. 15 seconds here for Mikkel. He'll get this one off. 97% on his hits. He's got to be accurate where he goes. Cannot leave a double.
He's got to stick around.
Well, hits, rolls away.
Just rolls too far.
Too far, I think.
Yeah.
Nose hit.
Nose hit for the win here. Just rolled a hair too far.
And maybe a little rush may have cost the little roll away.
Spiller myk vant på Rødvoll. Trenger ikke mye is.
So Thomas Olsrud will look to make the nose hit, score 2, and pick up their first win. Well, comes down, we'll get it right on the nose. They'll kick the stones away, and it will be good for the 2 and an 8-7 victory for Norway as they defeat Switzerland with a deuce in the 10th end to win their first game.
Very entertaining game. Well played by both teams.
Yep, it was quite a good game.
Luke will head down to do an interview with Thomas Olsrud. Great game by both teams, very entertaining, solid play. And we'll look again at the last rock, just the nose hit. Swiss skip just rolling a bit too far, leaving that second shot. And more of a look of relief on Thomas Olsrud's face. Made some great shots to keep his team into it. Just a little bit rushed by the Swiss at the end. Focused down to about 15 seconds before throwing his last rock. We were here live from the World Men's Curling Championships, Fords, here at the Save On Foods Arena. And as Luke heads down to gather up Thomas Olsrud for an interview, we'll head into highlights. We're here at the Save On Foods Memorial Arena in Victoria, Canada. On an Easter Sunday morning. Go to the 8th end. Swiss guard just going a little too far, allows Olsrud a straight raised double, makes it perfect to take his one here in the 8th. And then a possible double for 3, Sven Michel. Really thin double, just needs to hair the top one. Gets a little too much of it, gets the double, but gets so much action on that shooter. He rolls out, only taking 2, which will allow in the 10th here an open hit for Thomas Olsrud to score 2 and to win his first game here at the Ford Worlds in Victoria. And that'll put both of these teams at 1-1 after the third draw. And in the only other game this morning, Canada beats Finland 8-6. Canada going to 2 wins. And as we've got the standings, 2 wins, Sweden and Canada. Scotland, USA, only 1 game. Norway and Switzerland at 1 each. And Czech Republic, China. And we're off to the interview with Thomas Olsrud.
Thomas, a big win. The 6th end was a key one, getting that steal. You changed your game plan, put out 2 centerline guards.
Yeah, we were struggling before the break. You know, the Swiss guys were all over us, and we had a talk in the break, and we said, you know what, we just have to go for it. And we were lucky enough to get a big steal 2 in the 6th end, so that never hurts.
Looking into the 9th end, you know the situation you're at. You were looking at the hit or the freeze. You called the timeout. Talk me through that.
Yeah, if we freeze there, it's going to be a little. Not much space to work with, and if we miss it just a little, he has pretty much a double for the game right there. So we tried for a soft double,
roll away, so we make it a difficult double, and just touched it, I think. Didn't make the double, though. It made a tough double for him coming back, though, so luckily he rolled out, so yeah.
How important was it to get that first win? Obviously, going 0-2 would be tough.
Yeah, but really important for us, to be honest. You know, I've been struggling with where to put the broom for the guys, you know, so I told them, you know, you have to watch me more, you know. If you want to, you know, how it curls, you know, watch me. I'll teach you, you know, but I can't throw all the rocks, you know, so, but no, joking aside, it's been tough to place the broom.
Well, good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Luke.
Well, that was Thomas Olsrud and Luke Coley doing the interview. We're here at the World Men's Curling Championships in Victoria, and we look forward to having you back on our next broadcast. Wish everybody a good day.